What is up, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Yes, this is Tuesday, and I know I haven't been doing these as frequently as I should, but we are back. We are back. We are back, and it's good to be back. I hope everyone is having a good start to their summer. The kids are out of school, and I've done this video now, I think, at least twice. This might be lucky number 3. But we are going to be talking about teen drivers, and kind of what gets me in the mood of this is when I was in high school, that's where we took driver's ed. During the summer, we would, I think there was 2 different sessions, one early, right after school let out, and one later on in the summer. But I know that's not the case anymore these days. Most schools don't even offer it, or if they do, you have to pay for it. Where old guys like me, we got it for free. We got it for free, and now I know there's the different phases and everything else, and it's crazy. It's crazy. But you know what else is crazy? Not knowing how to insure your teen driver. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video today. For those of you that do not know, my name is Ryan Turbo Jackson. I am your insurance resource. And in videos like this, I like to give you the breakdown. Help break down language, give you tips, tricks, and let you know everything insurance so you know exactly what you're buying. Because let's be honest, insurance is its own language, so let me help you. So yes, we're going to be talking about teen drivers. I know every single parent, once your children reach the teens, it's something that we're all holding our breath about. How much is this going to cost us? And then on top of that, just worrying that your 16-year-old is driving a 1,000-pound vehicle. It can be rather stressful. So I'm going to give you some tips, some tricks, give you kind of the behind the scenes as to why the rates are the way they are when it does come to your youthful or teen driver. And I'm going to talk about some coverages and kind of the best strategy as to is it best to have your child on your policy, or is it best to have them on their own? So we're going to get into all of that, as well as kind of give you some tips and tricks on which cars. Yes, it does matter the type of car it is to help minimize that insurance premium. So let's start out right at the beginning. Why is it so expensive to insure a teen driver? Well, this is something that I haven't covered in my other videos. So if you are watching this for the second or third time, here are some teen-related stats, teen-related driving stats that I just became privy to. Stat number 1, teen drivers are 3 times more likely to be involved in a fatal crash than drivers age 20 and up. And I think that one's kind of common sense. We've all been there. We all started our driving journey somewhere, and we weren't the most proficient. We made mistakes, and that's kind of why you don't put your teen driver in a 2025 vehicle. We kind of give them the older one. We know it's going to get dinged up. We know it's going to get banged up, and that's just part of the game. That's just part of the game. Stat number 2, car crashes are the second leading death for teens in the U.S. And all of these are stats from the CDC, the IIHS, NHTSA, and AAA. So if you want to find out exactly where these are from, giving shout outs there. Stat number 3, 16-year-olds have the highest crash rate of any age group. I'm sure followed second by elderly drivers, but as you can see, when you're starting out your driving journey, your skills aren't that great. And then with time, repetition, and time behind the wheel, those skills increase. And then on the flip side, as we get older, our skills diminish as our physical state decreases, and eyesight and reaction time and everything else. So again, nothing shocking here. Nothing shocking here. Number 4, over 50% of teen driver crashes involve only the teen's vehicle, meaning they're crashing solo, not just reacting to others. And this one got me thinking. And I remember quite a few times where I came very close to getting in an accident when I was just with myself. And whether that was being distracted as the driver, or maybe going a little too fast where the conditions really weren't really appropriate, or something along that matter. Something that now at age 44 don't do those things. Why? Because we've had practice, we've had reps, we've had time behind the wheel. So what I did find is that it wasn't involving another vehicle. It was when they were by themselves. So kind of keep that in mind. Number 5, night driving is deadly. 40% of fatal teen crashes happen between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., which is kind of like I believe it's the stage 2, where stage 1, you can only drive with an adult until 9, and then stage 2, it kind of opens up some more restrictions. So again, steadily building up those repetitions and time behind the wheel, instead of like when I was a kid, here's your license at 16. There is no rules, no holds barred, no curfew, only the one set by your parents, but not by the state or the police. So I can see why they do it. Number 6, speeding is a factor in 1 of every 3 fatal teen crashes. Number 7, this one's kind of a no-brainer, but it is better to have some stats on it. More passengers equals more risk. With each additional teen passenger, crash risks go way up. And lastly, seatbelt use droppage. Only 59% of high school students report always wearing a seatbelt when riding as passengers. Doesn't say drivers, but passengers. And I can just imagine the conversation between teens in a car going, oh, we're only going this far. We really don't need that. We really don't need that. So yeah, that I can see how things could get messed up there. So that's kind of why, you know, when you sit down and kind of take a peek at the numbers, it kind of, I mean, yes, we've become conditioned to the fact that yes, it is going to cost us more to insure our teen drivers, but to kind of see the numbers back it up kind of gives us a whole other viewpoint, and that's kind of the reason I wanted to drive that home here today. So let's talk about ways to save some money when we are insuring our teen drivers. Well, the first thing is and this is going to be a company by company basis. Some companies offer discounts, that some do and some don't. So make sure to check with your agent to see if any of these discounts are available. But the first one's good student discount. And this, again, varies company to company. Some of them are, if your teen driver has a GPA of over 3.0, some of them are 3.5. But you do need to submit report cards every now and again, or at least every term, to keep that discount on there. So keep in mind, there is a little bit of homework for you, mom and dad. There is a little bit of legwork to make sure that that discount stays on. So, and then again, I can't. This is something that I always stress. It's like we need to stay on top of this, because if we don't get those report cards in, that discount will fall off. And then when your next payment comes out, you're going to wonder why things went up. And then you're going to call me upset going, Ryan, why did this go up? Well, we talked about this student or the good student discount, and it is something we need to stay on top of. Some companies offer drivers training programs. And again, this is extremely company by company. So if this is something that you want to look into, I would check with your agent first to make sure if you are getting your teen driver into one of these programs, that you're getting them into the correct one, or one that they recognize, so that you're not wasting your time and your money. Telematics. This is one I don't like, but if you're willing to play the game, then by all means, some companies offer telematics, and they might be wondering, well, what's telematics? Well, Allstate has DriveWise, Progressive has their analytics gatherer is basically what it is. Their device. They used to be devices that you put in your vehicle. Now I believe it's an app on your phone where once you get into the car, you can start it, and it registers the time of day that you're driving, how fast you accelerate, how fast you decelerate, your speed, that type of thing. And be careful with these, because I'm not a really big fan of them. Because they tell you, all right, yeah, for the first 3 months or 90 days or 60 days, while we gather your initial information, we'll give you a 15% discount. And if you meet all the criteria, that 15% discount will stay on there. But if you don't, we're going to take that back to a 5% discount. So you're still getting that discount, but you're just not the perfect driver that company ABC is wanting to give the 15% discount. Well, that sounds all well and good, but when after that initial period your payment goes up, even though you're still getting a discount, it's hard for me to explain, and I know it's hard for, kind of hard for our, insureds to kind of grasp it. It's like, yes, it really is a discount, but you lost 10%. To me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But to each their own. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure to get with your agent. Probably the easiest one, bundling your home and auto, and throw an umbrella in there. And since this is a major life event, let's get some life insurance. All of those are discounts. The more policies you have with the company, the greater the discounts will be. And a lot of times, when we're talking about teen drivers, we can get they still, if they're 18 or under, still fall under the child a children's policy, to where you're at 18, the coverage bumps up. At 22, the coverage bumps up, all without an increase in premium. It is a whole life product, so it can go with them as long as the premium is paid. A lot of times, the premium that you're going to pay for that is less than, or the discount you're going to get for a life policy is more than what you're actually going to pay for a policy like that. So you're going to be saving a little bit of money and getting more coverage. Same thing with your umbrella coverages. And then lastly, increasing deductibles or adjusting vehicles on the policy. Now, this is something that, we talked about, not putting your teen driver in a brand new vehicle. We put them in a used vehicle. And a lot of times we're just using, liability only. So we're not having comp, we're not having collision. I always try to put roadside on teen vehicles, just because I've had teen drivers, have teen drivers. So it's just a peace of mind for me. But like I said, to each their own. That's why a lot of times you can add and take these coverages off per vehicle. It's not per policy, but just something to think about. And where we live here, this is kind of deer central, so I always suggest throwing at minimum, keeping comprehensive on there, just in case a car v deer. At least we would be getting something if that car were totaled, or have some coverage if there is a car v deer accident. So what about, I kind of touched a little bit on coverage here, but what other coverages do we really need? With teen drivers, make sure we have our liability coverage set. This is probably the least expensive part of your policy, is the liability coverage, but it can be the most impactful when it comes to an accident. Remember, I always say, when liability, think lawsuit. When we went over the stats for teen drivers, they are more likely to have an accident. So increasing those limits, however, is going to cost you a little money up front, could save your behind when it comes to a lawsuit. So make sure those are set appropriately. And again, we talked about comprehensive and collision based on the vehicle's age, how much the teen driver is driving. All of that can go into account. So let's talk about policy strategy. I had mentioned, briefly, does it make sense for them to have their own policy? If they do have their own policy, they still live at home, are they eligible to have the multi-policy discount like you do for your home and auto? Well, again, that's company by company. But the vast majority of them, yes. If teen driver does have their own policy, they still live in your house, they do extend that multi-policy discount. But when is it a good idea to have your teen on their own policy? Well, think about it this way, mom and dad. If you have mom, dad, 2 vehicles, and then you add teen driver and teen vehicle, that's a very large premium. and teen driver gets in an accident or gets a ticket, that whole policy premium is going to increase. If we have mom, dad, two vehicles on one policy, teen driver vehicle on one policy, they get in an accident or a ticket, only their premium is going to increase, not yours. So some folks rationalize it that way, and it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, so that some families are like, well, if it's their mistake, they can pay for it. The whole family doesn't have to pay for it, which I get. Another thing, that if the vehicle is titled in the teen driver's name, they have to have their own policy. Yes, mom and dad, you can be co-titled on their vehicle, but if they're solely titled, they themselves have to have their own policy. That is cut and dry. There is nothing, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is a need to. Now, when is it beneficial, or is it beneficial? Well, right out the gate, 98% of the time, it is less expensive to have the teen driver and their vehicle titled in mom and dad's name or co-titled on mom and dad's policy, just because the vast majority of the time, mom and dad have a better insurance score, which is going to lower the premium. Now, that's usually the less expensive option up front. However, eventually your teen driver is going to move out. And if they move out, they need their own policy. If they're not living at home, they have to have their own policy. But if they move out and they're buying a home, they're going to need homeowners insurance. And if they don't have a very long track record of continuous insurance leading up to that, their insurance score is going to suffer. Yes, they will gain some insurance experience and kind of build up a score being on mom and dad's policy. However, if they're on their own, that experience, them paying the premium, that has a whole lot more weight to it, so that if their premiums are paid on time, if their driving record is clean, if their claims record is clean, that is going to increase their insurance scores, so that when they do go buy their home, their insurance score is going to be chef's kiss, primo, and as we all know with home insurance premiums right now, they are very, very high. So this is a way to kind of set them up for success in the future. Yes, I know it is going to be more expensive up front, but it's one of those, it's a catch-22. You're either going to pay for it up front now, or they're going to be paying more once they go to buy a house, because they haven't had that insurance experience. So kind of one or the other. And last but not least, let's talk about vehicle choice. Vehicle choice does impact the premium, whether they're on your policy or their own. As you can imagine, if they're driving a 2025 Tesla, it's going to be a little pricey. But if they're driving a 2015 Ford Fusion, probably not going to sweat it too much. My best suggestion when it comes to teen drivers is get them a 4-door sedan. And I know we talked about the more passengers the teen driver has, the more likely to be in an accident because they're distracted. However, if there is an accident, the 4-door sedan is going to be have a higher crashability factor, so people inside won't get hurt as often, and the likelihood of them being able to fix said car as compared to a 2-door or small, is we can all remember growing up, our parents tried to get us in the smallest, cheapest thing possible. That's not really the case anymore. And if you want to go even further from the 4-door sedan, an SUV, a pickup, things of that nature are going to be the least expensive option when it comes to the premium. So, and again, I'm using a broad brush to paint this picture. Every instance is its own. Everything is unique. you are unique, your situation is unique, your insurance score is unique, and where you live is unique. So like I said, these tips and tricks are using a broad brush. So again, this is a good chance to reach out to your agent, talk to them, see what they suggest, because they could have a totally different viewpoint than I do. But in my experience, these are things that I have used to help my clients when it comes to insuring their new teen driver. And one last thing before we do wrap this up, another question I get asked is, when should we put our teen driver on the policy? Now, I believe all the companies we work with will allow us to, pretty much they want every household member on the auto policy, regardless of age. So once your teen gets their permit number is actually going to be their driver's license number. So when they get their permit, give your agent a call, make sure that they are on the policy but listed as a non-driver because they're unlicensed. And then once they do get their license, it's a quick, easy, hey Ryan, little Joey just got his license today, can you make him active for me, please? Absolutely. I don't need any information. I just need to go in, flip a switch to make him active, and life is good. Life is good. So that's kind of my my tip as to when to add them. We can add household members as young as newborns, but to me it really doesn't make any sense. Once they get closer to that, getting their permit, going through driver's training, let's get them on there at least with their birthday, and then once they get their permit, let's add that number so that when the day comes that they do get their license, they have their freedom, or at least a little bit. We can make that change quick and easy, and it just works out best for everyone involved. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Turbo's tips on how to insure your teen driver, how to save you, mom and dad, money so it's not just flowing out of your pocket on a regular basis. So if you guys and gals have any questions, any concerns, please don't hesitate to give me a call. Here's my contact. You can message me right here on this video. You can send me a Facebook message. This is the office number here and my direct email. I'll give you a couple seconds to screenshot that. Well, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is tips and tricks on how to insure your teen driver. Let me know if you have any questions. Everyone, get out, have a great week. It's supposed to be a hot one for those. So for those of you that were couldn't wait for summer to get here, it's here. It's here. So everyone, stay cool. Check on your elderly neighbors and family members to make sure that they are comfortable. And if they cannot get out of the house, see if you can go make a grocery run or something for them to kind of take that off their plate. So I will see everyone next week, and have a good one.